The Pacific Ocean stretched wide and dark beneath the clouds. Above it, floating like a nightmare, was the last Vrakthul command ship. It was huge, longer than a city, shaped like a jagged claw, glowing with red light along its edges. This was the heart of their fleet. From here they sent orders, launched attacks, and planned the final end of Earth. Ray stood on a rocky cliff in Hawaii, looking up at it. The air was warm, but he felt cold. The wind carried the smell of salt and smoke. Behind him, Lena checked. The stolen dropship. It was damaged, held together with wire and hope, but it could fly. "You sure this thing will get us up there?" she asked. "It has to," Ray said. No other way. They were the last ones. Jason gone, Kyle gone, Naomi gone, just Ray and Lena now. 2 soldiers left from the 10 who had dropped from orbit. The war had taken its toll. But it wasn't. Over in New Denver, Kirby had sent one last message. "The ship is charging its main weapon. If it fires, it will crack the planet's core. You must stop it. No backup. No plan B. Just them." "We don't come back from this, do we?" Lena asked. Ray looked at her. "Maybe not. But Earth does." They boarded the dropship. Lena took the controls. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. The ship lifted off, wobbling at first, then finding balance. It climbed into the sky, flying low over the waves, heading straight for the floating fortress. Above, the Vrakthul saw them coming. Drones were sent. Guns on the ship turned toward the small craft. "Brace!" Lena shouted. Energy beams cut the sky. One hit the wing. The ship spun, but Lena fought the controls. She dove under the attack, flying so low the hull scraped the water. Then she pulled up fast, slipping under the ship's defense line. "How did you do that?" Ray asked. "Lucky," she said. "And stupid. They found a weak spot. A damaged hatch on the underside." Lena fired the grapple. It caught. They pulled in. Inside, the ship was a maze of dark halls and red light. The air was thick, hard to breathe. The walls pulsed like they were alive. Alien. Symbols glowed on the floors. Every step echoed. Ray led the way, rifle ready. Lena followed, carrying the last fusion charge. It was big, strong enough to destroy the core if placed right. "I'm linking to their network," Lena said, tapping her wrist device. "But it's different. Smarter. It fights back." "Just get us to the core," Ray said. They moved slow. Every turn could bring death. Drones passed by. They hid. Guards walked in pairs. They slipped past. The ship knew they were there, but it didn't know where. Then, the voice came. Not through speakers. Not through air. In their heads. "You are alone," it said. "You are broken. You will fail." Ray shook his head. "Mind trick. Don't listen." Lena pressed her hands to her ears. "It's inside me. Fight it," Ray said. "You're stronger." They kept going. At last, they reached the core room, a massive chamber in the center of the ship. A black column spun slowly, crackling with power. Wires and tubes fed into it from all sides. This was it, the heart of the weapon. "I'll plant the charge," Lena said. "Do it fast," Ray said. "I'll watch the door." She worked quickly, placing the charge on the main shaft. Setting the timer. 5 minutes, then 4, then 3. "Done," she said. They turned to leave. The door slammed shut. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. Tall, armored, eyes glowing purple. The Vrakthul commander. "You fight to the end," it said in their minds. "But you are only flesh. We are forever." Ray raised his rifle. "You're not forever. You're just in my way." The commander moved fast. It fired a beam from its hand. Ray dodged. The wall behind him exploded. Lena pulled a sidearm and fired. The shots sparked against the armor. The commander hit her with a wave of energy. She flew back, hitting the wall hard. Didn't move. Ray charged. He fired. Missed. ducked a swing, kicked the commander's leg. Not enough. The alien grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. "I will break you," it said, "and your world will watch." Ray couldn't breathe. His vision blurred, but he smiled. Then, with his free hand, he pulled a small blade. From his suit, he drove it into the joint of the alien's arm. The commander screamed, not in pain, but in shock. It dropped Ray. He fell, rolled, and came up firing, pulse after pulse, into the chest, the head, the legs. The commander fell. Ray ran to Lena. She was hurt, but alive. "Can you walk?" he asked. "I have to," she said. They reached the door. It was sealed. "Timer?" Ray asked. 2 minutes, Lena said. Ray looked around, found a control panel, smashed it with the butt of his rifle. The door cracked open. They ran. Through the halls, past drones, past fire, reached the dropship. "Go! Go! Go!" Ray shouted. Lena fired up the engine. The ship lifted just as the first explosion hit. The core burst. Fire tore through the ship. Metal twisted. The whole thing began to fall. They flew hard and fast, the shockwave pushing them forward. Behind them, the command ship broke apart, lighting the sky in red and orange. Then, silence. The ship was gone. The fleet was gone. The war was over. Ray sat back, breathing hard. Lena landed the dropship on a beach. The ocean was calm. The sky was clear. They stepped out. No words, just the sound of waves. In New Denver, Kirby saw the explosion from the bunker. The officers cheered. Danny smiled. But Kirby just stood there looking at the screen. "They did it," he said. "Do you think they made it?" Danny asked. Kirby didn't answer. Weeks passed. The Vracthul were gone. The people came out of hiding. Cities began to rebuild. Fires were put out. Graves were dug. Names were remembered. Statues were built. One in New York showed a soldier falling from the sky. One in Tokyo showed a woman with a rifle, standing tall. In Chicago, a simple stone read, "They came when all was lost." But Ray and Lena were not there. Some said they died in the blast. Some said they walked into the wild and never looked back. One night, on a cliff in Hawaii, an old man sat alone, watching the stars. He wore simple clothes, no suit, no weapon, but his eyes were sharp, his back straight. A young boy came up holding a book. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you Ray Dawson?" The man looked at him. "Why do you ask?" "Because I read about you. In school. You dropped from space. You saved us." The man was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. "I didn't save anyone," he said. "I just did my job." "Was it worth it?" the boy asked. The man looked at the sky. "Earth is still here," he said. "That's enough." And he kept watching the stars where it all began. The dropship cut through the cold mountain air, flying low over the snow-covered peaks of the Himalayas. Wind howled against the hull. Inside, the team sat in silence, checking weapons, suits, and gear. The sky was gray. Snow fell in thick sheets. The world felt dead. But Ray knew better. Death was everywhere now. So was life. Their target loomed ahead. A massive Vracthul structure built into the side of a mountain. It pulsed with red light, like a heartbeat. Long metal arms stretched into the sky, holding a giant dish that hummed with power. This was the gravity cannon. One shot from it could rip a city apart, pull buildings into the sky, and crush them in midair. If it fired, millions would die. "This place gives me bad feelings," Jason said, looking out the window. "Good," Ray said. "Means it's important." Kyle tapped on his wrist device. "I'm picking up strong energy signals. The cannon is charging. Not fully, but close. If they fire it, even at half power, it could hit New Delhi. Then we stop it, Lena said. Naomi adjusted her rifle. I'll take high ground. Cover you while you move in. Ray nodded. We go in quiet. No fireworks until we have to. Plant the charges, blow the core, get out fast. The dropship landed 2 miles away, hidden behind a ridge. The team stepped out into deep snow. The cold bit through their suits, but they kept moving. They walked in single file, following a narrow path through the rocks. As they moved, Ray thought about what Lena had said back in Chicago. Maybe we didn't save them. Maybe we just reminded them they could save themselves. He didn't know if it was true, but he saw proof of it everywhere now. People fighting, rising up, no longer hiding. But he also knew this. Without the Hyperfall soldiers, the spark might never have lit. They reached the base of the structure by midday. The entrance was guarded by 2 Vrakthul sentries, tall and still, scanning the snow with glowing eyes. I'll take the left, Jason whispered. Right is mine, Ray said. They moved like shadows. Jason came from behind a rock, fast and low. He broke the first guard's neck before it could turn. Ray shot the second in the head with a silenced pulse round. Both fell without a sound. Clear, Ray said. They entered the base. The inside was dark, lit only by red lights along the walls. The air was thick with a strange hum. The floor vibrated under their boots. The cannon was alive. Kyle pulled up a map on his screen. Core is deep, 3 levels down. Security is tight. Drones, motion sensors, locked doors. You can open. The doors? Ray asked. Most of them, Kyle said. But some need biometric scans. Fractal DNA. Lena looked at the dead guards outside. I'll get what we need. She went back and returned with a small device. Got a hand? Should work. They moved down step by step. Jason led the way, rifle ready. Naomi stayed behind, watching their backs. Every turn could bring enemies. Every sound could mean death. They reached the 2nd level. A drone floated in the hall. Kyle hacked it fast, turned it off before it could alert anyone. Nice, Jason said. Don't get used to it, Kyle said. Their system is learning. It knows something's wrong. They pressed on. At the 3rd level, the door was sealed. Lena used the Vrakthul hand on the scanner. The door hissed open. Inside was the core, a tall column of dark metal spinning slowly, crackling with energy. Wires and tubes ran from it like veins. The hum was louder here. The air felt heavy, like gravity itself was wrong. This is it, Lena said. She pulled out 2 fusion charges. I'll plant them on the main shaft. 5-minute timer. Do it, Ray said. As she worked, Kyle sat at a console. I can access their network from here, maybe find out what they're planning next. Fast, Ray said. We don't stay long. Jason stood guard at the door. Naomi took position on a ledge above. Ray watched Lena. She finished planting the first charge, moved to the second. Then, without warning, the lights changed. Red turned to blue. Alarms blared. What happened? Ray shouted. Kyle looked up. They found me. I'm locked out. And they know we're here. The door slammed shut. We've got company, Jason said, firing down the hall. Vrakthul's soldiers were coming, fast, armored, armed. Finish it, Lena, Ray yelled. She slapped the second charge in place. Done! 5 minutes! Then move, Ray said. They ran for the stairs. Bullets and energy beams cut the air. Jason took a hit to the leg. He fell, rolled, and kept firing. Ray pulled him up. Not here, he said. Not like this. They climbed, shooting, dodging, breaking doors when they had to. The Vrakthul were close behind. More soldiers. A heavy walker appeared at the bottom, firing up the stairwell. Naomi stayed behind, laying down fire. Go, I'll hold them. No, Ray said. I have to, she said. Someone has to cover you. Go! He didn't want to leave her, but the charges were ticking. If they didn't get clear, the blast would take them all. Come back, he said. She just nodded. They reached the surface. The dropship was still there. Kyle fired it up. Ray pulled Jason inside. They lifted off just as the first explosion hit. The mountain shook. A wave of fire and rock burst from the base. The gravity. Cannon twisted, then collapsed into itself, pulled apart by its own power. "We did it," Lena said. But Ray looked back. No sign of Naomi. "She didn't make it," Jason said, voice low. Ray said nothing. He just watched the fire. They flew in silence. Back in New Denver, Kirby got the signal. "Cannon destroyed. Mission success." The room cheered, but Kirby didn't smile. "Where's Naomi?" "Missing," Danny said. "Last seen covering their escape." Kirby closed his eyes. Another hero lost. Meanwhile, Ray sat in the dropship staring at the floor. Jason was hurt bad. Lena worked on him, but he was pale, weak. "I'll be fine," Jason said, but his voice was thin. Kyle stayed on the comms. "I got something before I got kicked out," he said. "A file. Partial. But it shows their plan. They're not just here to conquer. They're here to erase, to wipe Earth clean, make it a dead rock." "Why?" Lena asked. "Because we fight," Kyle said. "Because we don't give up. Because we scare them." Ray looked up. "Then we keep fighting." But the cost was growing. Days later, Jason died. His body couldn't handle the wound and the strain of the suit. Lena held his dog tags and didn't speak for hours. Kyle tried to send a message to Sigma Station. No reply. The comms were down. They were on their own. Then, in Berlin, Kyle went in alone to hack a Vrakthul data hub. He got inside, sent a burst signal, but they caught him. Ray saw the feed. Kyle on his knees, surrounded by Vrakthul, soldiers. They tried to take his mind, to pull the secrets from his brain. But Kyle had a failsafe. He pressed a button on his wrist. His suit exploded. The last thing he sent was a looped message. "They don't know fear. But we do. And that's why we win." Ray played it once, then turned it off. Lena sat by the fire that night. "We were built for this," she said. "But what happens when it's over? What are we then?" Ray didn't answer. He looked at the stars. They were still falling, but the ground was getting heavier. The fire from the reactor explosion lit up the night sky over Chicago. Smoke rose high, twisting into strange shapes as the wind carried it east. The command hub was gone. The Vrakthul forces in the city had no leader, no orders, no way to call for help. They moved in confusion, some fighting, some retreating, most just standing and looking up at the burning sky. Ray Dawson stood in the middle of the ruins, breathing hard. His suit was cracked on one shoulder and a cut on his arm oozed blood, but he didn't care. They had done it. The first strike had landed. The message had been sent. Around him, the team regrouped. Lena checked her gear. "Charges are done. Nothing left to blow." Jason kicked a dead Vrakthul soldier. "They didn't even see us coming." Naomi stayed on the rooftop a little longer, scanning the area with her scope. More hostiles moving out of the city. "They're pulling back." Kyle tapped on his wrist device. "I'm still in their network. I can track their movements. They're sending signals, panic, not command. They don't know what hit them." Ray nodded. "Good. Let them be afraid." He opened the comms. "Sigma Station, this is Dawson. Mission 1 complete. Command hub destroyed. Enemy in retreat. We need next orders." A voice came back, calm and clear. "Copy that. Hellfall. Prepare for support drop. More weapons, more gear. Coming down in 30. New targets are being sent to your devices." "Understood," Ray said. He turned to his team. "We rest for 10, eat, drink, fix what we can, then we move." They found a half-covered shelter near an old subway entrance. The air was cool, safe from the wind and smoke. They sat in silence, passing around water and energy bars. No one spoke much. They were tired. Not just in the body, but in the mind. What they were doing was not normal. Falling from space, fighting like machines, surviving things no human should. Jason broke the silence. You think they saw us? Who? Lena asked. Everyone. Back home, in the bunkers. The ones still hiding. They saw, Ray said. The feed was live. Every channel. Every city. Every hole in the ground. Jason smiled. Then maybe they'll stop hiding. Meanwhile, across the world, people were watching. In Moscow, a group of fighters had taken over a power station. They saw the feed on, a cracked screen. When they saw Ray standing in the firelight, they cheered. One man grabbed a rifle and shouted, "This is our time!" They moved out, attacking a nearby Vrakthul outpost before dawn. In Nairobi, a woman named Marta led a group of survivors from a deep bunker. She showed the video to her people. "Look," she said, "we are not alone. Others are fighting. So can we." That night, they ambushed a patrol, stole weapons, and took back their neighborhood. In Tokyo, rebels used old satellite links to spread the message. It played on broken phones, weak radios, even written on walls. Earth fights back. The sky reigns. Soldiers. The Vrakthul tried to stop it. They jammed signals, killed messengers, burned buildings with screens. But the message was already out. It lived in voices, in whispers, in hope. Back in New Denver, General Kirby watched the live feed, with tears in his eyes. "They did it," he said to Danny. "They really did it." Danny nodded. "What now?" Kirby stood up. "Now we fight back. All of us." He walked to the command console and opened a global channel. His voice was strong, loud, clear. "All human forces, all survivors, all free people of Earth. This is General Paul Kirby. The Vrakthul think they have won. They are wrong. Today our soldiers dropped from space. They hit hard. They struck first, and they broke the enemy's heart. But they cannot do it alone. Now, it is our turn. Rise up. Take your weapons. Defend your homes. Attack their bases. We are not broken. We are not beaten. We are Earth, and we are coming." The message spread like fire, and the world began to move. In Los Angeles, a hidden army of ex-soldiers and civilians stormed a Vrakthul landing zone. They used old tanks, homemade bombs, and sheer numbers. They lost many, but they won the base. In Sydney, divers attacked alien ships from below, planting charges on their hulls. 3 ships sank before dawn. In Rio, rebels used the jungle to hide, then strike. They took out supply lines, communication towers, and command posts. The Vrakthul were strong, but they were not ready for this. They had planned for armies, for weapons, for war, but not for a planet that refused to die. Back in Chicago, Ray and his team got the new orders. "Targets confirmed," Kyle said. "Vrakthul gravity cannon in the Himalayas. Power stations in Berlin and Moscow. Command ship over the Pacific." "We can't hit all of them," Lena said. "We don't have to," Ray said. "We hit one, then another. Keep them off balance, make them scared to stay." They waited for the support drop. 30 minutes after the call, 3 more pods fell from the sky. They landed with heavy thuds, kicking up dust and fire. Inside were new weapons, long-range pulse rifles, drone jammers, armor patches, and medical kits. Ray checked his suit. The crack on the shoulder was fixed with a sealant patch. His arm was wrapped. He felt better, stronger. "We move at dawn," he said. But the Vrakthul were not blind. Their high command, far above Earth on a massive ship, watched the reports come in. Cities in revolt, bases attacked, their forces pushed back. It made no sense. Humans were weak, slow, emotional. They should have broken, but they hadn't. The Vrakthul leader, a tall being with cold eyes and a voice like stone, stood on the bridge of the command ship. He looked at the data. Then he spoke. "This change, it began with the falling soldiers. They are the spark. Find them, kill them, break their signal. Without them, the fire dies. Orders went out. Elite Vrakthul hunters were sent to Chicago. Drones scanned the ruins. Ships moved into position. They were coming. But Ray didn't know that yet. At first light, the team moved out. Their next target was the gravity cannon in the Himalayas, a weapon that could pull cities apart with invisible force. If it fired, whole regions would collapse. "We dropped from high altitude," Ray said. "Stealth entry, in and out fast." Jason grinned. "I like fast." They boarded a stolen Vrakthul dropship one Kyle had reprogrammed. It hummed to life and rose into the sky, flying low over the broken land. As they flew, Ray looked down at the world. Smoke, fire, ruins, but also movement, people, small groups, lights in the dark. "They're not waiting anymore," he said. Lena sat beside him. "Maybe we didn't save them," she said. "Maybe we just reminded them they could." "Save themselves," Ray didn't answer. He just watched the sky. The dropship flew east. Behind them, in the ruins of Chicago, something moved in the shadows. Vrakthul hunters had arrived. They found the shelter. They found the footprints. They knew the soldiers were gone, but they would find them. And when they did, they would not fall from the sky. They would die on the ground. The ground shook when Ray Dawson landed. Dust rose in a thick cloud, swirling around him as he crouched low, rifle ready. His suit beeped once. Impact damage minimal. He was alive, and he was not alone. From the sky, the other pods had broken. Apart, soldiers fell like dark rain, each one guided by a grav chute that slowed their fall just enough. They hit hard, rolled, and came up fighting. Jason Pike landed in an old parking garage, crushed under rubble for a second before bursting free. A Vrakthul scout drone spotted him and fired. The beam cut through concrete, but Jason was already moving. He dove behind a broken truck, then charged forward, closing the distance in seconds. Before the drone could fire again, he ripped off its core and crushed it in his hand. "Too slow," he muttered. Lena Cruz landed near the main reactor of the Vrakthul command hub. The building was half buried, its walls covered in alien symbols that pulsed with red light. She rolled behind a pile of steel beams and pulled out her charges. 5 shaped explosives, each one strong enough to crack reinforced concrete. She didn't need all of them, just 2 in the right place. "Planting in 5, she said into the comms. "Make it fast," Ray replied. "We've got company." He wasn't wrong. The Vrakthul were fast to react. Their sensors had picked up the strange drop, and now, squads of soldiers were moving toward the impact zones. They moved in perfect lines, their armor reflecting the dim light, their weapons glowing with stored energy. Ray saw them first, 3 of them, coming around a collapsed highway. He fired. The pulse rifle kicked in his hands, sending a bolt of blue energy that tore through the first alien's chest. The second raised its weapon, but Ray was already diving behind cover. The beam scorched the ground where he had been. More. Shots rang out. Naomi was firing from her perch on the skyscraper. One alien fell, then another. She didn't miss. Her scope showed her everything: heat, movement, breathing. She saw the third alien turn toward her position and signal for backup. "They're tracking me," she said calmly. "Then give them something else to look at," Ray answered. Kyle Barrett landed hard near a broken power station. He rolled, checked his wrist device, and smiled. "Got their network," he said. "Hacking in now." His fingers moved fast over the screen. The Vrakthul used a digital system to control their drones, comms, and base defenses. Kyle's suit had been built to break into alien tech. It wasn't easy. Alien code was strange, built on logic humans didn't use. But he had trained for this. "Access granted," he whispered, shutting down local drones. Across the battlefield, flying drones suddenly spun out of control and crashed. Some exploded, others just dropped like stones. "Nice," Jason said, as a drone fell just 10 feet from him. Now I don't have to climb. He moved fast, using the ruined city as cover. He found a group of Rakthul soldiers guarding a side entrance to the command hub. They stood in silence, scanning the area. Jason didn't give them time to react. He came from behind, silent and fast. One snap of the neck, then another. The third turned, but Jason was already on him, driving a combat knife into its chest. He wiped the blade clean. Clean entry. Good start. Back on the rooftop, Naomi shifted position. The Vrakthul were sending more troops. She counted 8 moving in formation toward Ray's location. She took a deep breath, aimed, and fired. One dropped. She reloaded. Another shot. Another drop. They still kept coming. "Ray," she said, "you've got 8 hostiles east side, moving fast." "Not for long," Ray said. He stepped out from cover and fired 3 quick shots. 2 aliens fell. The third raised its weapon, but a pulse from Naomi's rifle took its head clean off. "Thanks," Ray said. "Don't mention it," she replied. Lena finished planting the charges. She set the timer for 10 minutes. "Reactor is hot. We've got 10 until boom." "Clear the area," Ray ordered. They moved fast. Jason met up with Ray near a broken bridge. Kyle joined them, still tapping on his device. "I've blocked. They're comms in this zone. They can't call for help." "Good," Ray said. "That means they'll come themselves." And they did. A loud roar filled the air. From the center of the command hub, a massive door opened. Out came a Vrakthul, war machine, a 6-legged walker with twin plasma cannons mounted on its back. It moved slowly but powerfully, crushing cars and concrete under its feet. "Now that's a party," Jason said, grinning. "Lena," Ray said, "can you speed up the timer?" "No," she said. "It's locked. 10 minutes, no less." "Then we slow that thing down," Ray said. He turned to Jason. "You take the left. Naomi, aim for the joints. Kyle, see if you can mess with its systems." They moved into position. The walker fired. A beam cut through the air, blowing apart a building nearby. Debris rained down. Ray rolled behind a tank and fired at the machine's legs. The pulse rounds sparked against the armor but didn't break through. "Tough shell," he said. "Then we hit the weak spots," Naomi said. She fired. The shot hit one of the leg joints. The machine staggered. Jason charged from the side, climbing onto its back. He pulled out a grenade and jammed it into a seam in the armor. The explosion rocked the machine, but it stayed upright. "Stubborn," Jason growled. Kyle was on his knees, fingers flying over his screen. "Trying to hack the control signal. Almost. Got it." The machine suddenly froze. Its cannons twitched, then pointed at the sky. "I've got control," Kyle shouted. "But not for long." "Long enough," Ray said. He ran forward and fired into the open cockpit. The pilot, a tall, insect-like Vrakthul officer, fell dead. The machine powered down and collapsed to the ground with a loud crash. "One down," Ray said. 5. "Minutes on the reactor," Lena warned. They didn't have time to rest. Vrakthul reinforcements were closing in from all sides. More soldiers, more drones, even a second walker, still far off but moving fast. "We need to go," Kyle said. "Not yet," Ray said. "We came to break their command. We do it now." He pulled out a small device, a signal booster. He activated it and placed it on the roof of a broken car. "This will send a message. Live feed, straight to every open channel on the planet." "What message?" Jason asked. "That we're here," Ray said. "That we're fighting. That Earth is not dead." The device blinked green. The feed was live. Back in New Denver, the bunker's main screen flickered. Then a new image appeared. Shaky, at first, then clear. It showed Ray standing in the ruins, smoke behind him, his weapon in hand. "This is Captain Ray Dawson," he said. "Earth is not yours. We are not gone. We are not broken. And we are coming for you." Kirby watched, stunned. Around him, the officers stood up. Some smiled, some cried. Danny whispered, "They're really doing it." The feed showed more. Lena, running from the reactor as it exploded in a massive fireball. Jason fighting hand-to-hand with a Vrakthul soldier. Naomi picking off enemies from above. Kyle typing furiously as alien code scrolled across his screen. The message spread fast. In Moscow, a group of rebels saw it on a broken tablet. They looked at each other, then grabbed their weapons. "Let's go," one said. In Nairobi, a woman watching from a basement turned to her son. "See that? Those are our people." In Tokyo, a hidden radio station rebroadcast the message. "Earth fights back," the voice said. "The sky rains soldiers." The Vrakthul didn't understand. They had expected silence, surrender, death. Instead, they got fire, and noise, and something they had no word for: hope. Ray looked up at the sky as the last of the command hub burned. "This was just the first drop," he said to his team. "They'll come again, and we'll be ready." Jason wiped blood from his face. "I hope so." Naomi watched the horizon. "They're already coming." Far above, more pods were launching from Sigma Station. The war wasn't over. It had just begun. The sky above New Denver was dark, not with night, but with smoke. Thick black clouds rolled across the horizon, lit only by the occasional flash of explosions far to the east. Once, this city had been a place of tall buildings, busy streets, and children playing in parks. Now it was a broken shell, half buried under rubble and the wreckage of war machines. The air smelled of fire, metal, and something worse: fear. Deep below the surface, in a bunker built to survive nuclear blasts, General Paul Kirby sat in a dimly lit room. His face was tired, his eyes heavy with the weight of too many bad decisions and too many lost soldiers. Around him, officers in torn uniforms moved slowly, speaking in low voices, checking broken screens and fading signals. The lights flickered. Power was running low. So was hope. On the main screen, a map of the world showed red zones spreading like a disease. Red meant enemy control. Almost the entire planet was red now. Only a few small white dots remained. Hidden, bases, underground shelters, pockets of resistance. But they were shrinking every hour. The Vrakthul had come without warning. No message, no demand. Just fire from the sky. Their ships were massive, shaped like jagged teeth, floating silently, above cities before opening fire with beams that turned buildings to dust. They moved fast, struck hard, and showed no mercy. In 3 weeks, they had taken Europe, Asia, and most of North America. Their soldiers were not like humans. Tall, armored, with eyes that glowed purple, they moved with cold precision. They did not sleep. They did not stop. Kirby had led the last stand. He had ordered the final push near Chicago. It failed. Thousands died. The Vrakthul didn't even slow down. Now the command bunker was the last functioning military base on the planet. And even here, systems were failing. Food was low. Water was rationed. Morale was gone. A young officer named Danny Walker approached. Kirby's desk. His hand shook slightly as he held a data pad. "General," he said, voice quiet. "We just got a signal. From space." Kirby looked up. "Space? That's impossible. All our satellites are down." "This one isn't a satellite," Danny said. "It's coming from Orbital Drop Platform Sigma." Kirby froze. He had heard that name before, years ago. In a classified meeting he was never supposed to remember. Sigma was a myth. A ghost story told in secret rooms. A hidden station built in deep space, far beyond the moon. It was never supposed to be used, only activated if Earth was lost. "Are you sure?" Kirby asked. "The code matches," Danny said. "And the signal is repeating one message. Operation Hellfall is green. We're dropping in 5. Kirby stood up slowly. His heart beat faster. Hellfall. That's the hyperfall. Infantry. What's that? Danny asked. A unit, Kirby said. Not just soldiers. Something else. Enhanced. Trained to drop from orbit. Built for one thing. War. No one in the room spoke. The idea sounded like madness. Drop from space? Survive re-entry? Fight on impact? It was suicide. But Kirby remembered the files. The project had been buried for decades. Too expensive. Too dangerous. Too extreme. But now, it might be the only chance left. Put it on speaker, Kirby said. Danny pressed a button. A voice came through. Calm, strong, clear. This is Captain Ray Dawson. Sigma Station to Earth Command. We read your distress signal. We see what's happening down there. We're launching Hellfall in 5 minutes. Repeat, Operation Hellfall is green. We are coming down. Kirby closed his eyes. For the first time in weeks, he felt something other than despair. It was small, fragile, but it was there. Hope. Send a reply, Kirby said. Tell them Earth is waiting. Up in orbit, far above the planet, the truth was different. Sigma Station was not a myth. It was real, and it had been. Watching. Ray Dawson stood in the launch bay, looking out through a thick glass window. Below him, the Earth burned. Cities were gone, forests were ash, the oceans were dark with oil and wreckage. He had seen it all from space. He had waited, and now the order had come. Around him, 10 soldiers stood in silence. They wore black exosuits, sleek and strong, built to survive the fall and keep fighting after. Their helmets were sealed. Their weapons were loaded. They were not normal. Men and women. They had been changed. Stronger bones, faster reflexes, nerves wired to react before the mind could think. They were the last weapon Earth had ever made. Ray turned to them. You all know the mission. We drop. We hit hard. We break their command. We give the people down there a chance. Lena Cruz stepped forward. Her voice was sharp, focused. We're not saving the world, Ray. We're starting a fire. One big enough to make them afraid. That's the point, Ray said. They think we're weak. They think we're done. We show them we're not. Jason Pike cracked his neck. I've been waiting for this. Naomi Reed said nothing. She just checked her rifle, a long silver weapon with a scope that could see heat, motion, and distance in perfect clarity. She was the best shot any of them had ever seen. She didn't need luck. She needed a target. Kyle Barrett tapped on a small screen on his wrist. I've linked to the last open frequency. I can ride the signal down, hack into their network. Once we land, if we're lucky, I can blind them before they even see us. Luck has nothing to do with it, Ray said. We make our own. The alarm sounded. Red lights flashed. The launch was starting. The soldiers moved to their pods. 10 small capsules lined up in a row. Each one was built like a bullet, designed to survive the fall from space. No parachutes. No soft landings. Just speed, fire, and impact. Ray entered his pod last. He sat down, sealed the hatch, and took a slow breath. His mind was clear. No fear, no doubt. Only purpose. A voice came over the comms. Hellfall launch in 30 seconds. Godspeed, soldiers. One by one, the pods were pushed out into space. They floated for a moment, black dots against the stars. Then engines fired. They shot toward Earth, faster than anything human-made had ever gone. As they entered the atmosphere, the sky turned white. The pods glowed red, then orange, then bright yellow. The heat was insane. The force was crushing. Inside, the soldiers held on, their bodies protected by gel-lined seats and reinforced suits. Down below, in New Denver, Kirby and the others watched the sky. Do you see anything? Kirby asked. Danny pointed. Look. High above, streaks of light cut through the smoke, like falling stars. But these were not stars. "They're coming," Kirby whispered. The Vracthul noticed, too. Their sensors picked up the fast-moving objects. They didn't know what they were. Meteors? Weapons? They sent drones to investigate, but it was too late. The pods broke apart at 20,000 feet. The soldiers dropped free, wrapped in grav chutes that slowed their fall just enough to survive. They fell like shadows, silent and fast. The first to land was Jason. He hit the ground in the ruins of Chicago, rolled, and came up shooting. 2 Vracthul guards fell before they could turn. Lena landed next, near a damaged reactor. She pulled charges from her belt and started setting them. Naomi landed on a broken skyscraper. She knelt, aimed, and fired. A Vracthul commander dropped from a balcony, dead before he hit the ground. Kyle landed in a cloud of dust. He opened a small device on his wrist and began typing. Network access in 3, 2, got it. Ray landed last in the center of the old city square. He stood up, pulled his rifle, and looked around. The Vracthul were moving toward him, fast. He raised his weapon. "Hellfall," he said into the comms. "Active." And then the real fight began. Years passed. The world changed slowly like a river-shaping stone. The story of the Vanguard was no longer a secret. It was taught in schools, shown in films, remembered in quiet moments when people looked up at the stars and felt small, but not alone. Earth did not rush into the sky. After the Odyssey, after the Vanguard, people understood. Space was not a place to conquer. It was a place to grow. The ship called the Bridge was built just as promised. White and wide, with open decks and no weapons. It carried not soldiers, but scientists, doctors, artists, and teachers. Its mission, to return to Kepler 442b, not with force, not with fear, but with hands open. Daniel Reeves was asked to command it. He said no. "I already went," he told the council. This time it should be someone new, someone who never left Earth before. They chose a woman named Clara Mendez, a marine biologist who had spent her life saving coral reefs. She had never been to space, but she had spent her life healing. "Broken things. If I can fix an ocean," she said, "maybe I can help fix a misunderstanding." The launch was peaceful. No crowds, no loud music. Just a soft lift into the sky as the world watched in silence. Jason Cole stood at the edge of the control room, watching the feed. "She'll do good," Lila said beside him. "She'll do better than us," Jason said. "We had to prove we belonged. She gets to just be there." Lila smiled. "That's what we fought for." On Kepler 442b, the Veln waited. They had spent years healing their network, studying the data the Vanguard had sent. They had learned human music, human art, human pain. And something strange happened. They began to change. Not their bodies, their minds. For the first time, some Veln chose to be alone, to think their own thoughts, to create things that had no purpose. One built a tower not for energy, but for beauty. Another recorded the wind and played it back in colors. They were learning what it meant to be individual. When the bridge arrived, it did not hide. It flew in slow, its lights blinking in a pattern of peace. It circled the planet once, then sent a signal, not in human speech, but in the same soft light language the Veln had used in reply. "We come in friendship," the central tower answered. "We see you. You may land." Clara stepped onto the surface in a simple suit, no helmet. The air was breathable, the ground was warm. Before her stood a group of Veln, tall and glowing, their faces calm. One stepped forward. It did not speak in her mind. It used words. Broken. Slow. "Welcome. Back." Clara smiled. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a seed. "This is from Earth," she said. "A tree. I brought it to grow here, if you allow." The Velen looked at the seed, then at each other. One reached out, not with a hand, with light. A soft beam touched the seed. Then it bowed. Clara planted the seed in the soil. No one knew if it would grow, but it was a start. Back on Earth, people cried, not from fear, from hope. Nathan Cole watched the broadcast in his old lab. The walls were bare now. Site Gamma was empty. The war was over before it began. The victory had been quiet, deep, real. Jason visited him one evening. "You did it," Jason said. "You made them listen." Nathan shook his head. "We all did. Every person who believed we could be more." "Do you regret it?" Jason asked. "The anger, the secrets, the years in the dark?" Nathan looked out the window at the stars. "No," he said, "because if we hadn't been angry, we wouldn't have gone back. If we hadn't been silent, we wouldn't have been smart. And if we hadn't cared, we wouldn't have won." He paused. "They didn't just force us to leave. They made us stronger. They made us prove who we are." Jason sat beside him. "So what now?" "Now," Nathan said. "Now we share the stars." And they did. In the years that followed, more ships were built, not for war, for travel, for study, for meeting. Humans visited other worlds. Some had life. Some had ruins. A few had voices, and every time they listened first. Lila wrote more books. She traveled to universities telling the story of the vanguard, not as a tale of revenge, but of dignity. Daniel trained new captains, teaching them one rule: never go to the stars to prove you're strong. Go to learn, to give, to be human. Jason never left Earth again, but he taught every pilot who did. Fly slow, watch first, speak last. And on Kepler 442b, the seed grew. It was small at first, a green shoot in the red soil, then a stem, then leaves. The Velen watched it every day. They named it Kallen, a word from their old language that meant first gift. They built a ring of light around it, not to protect it from harm, but to honor it. And when the first leaf fell, they kept it in a crystal case, a symbol, not of power, not of war, of peace. One day, a young Velen asked an elder, "Why do we care for this small thing?" The elder looked at the tree, then at the stars. "Because once," it said, "we told a species they did not belong, and they came back, not with fire, but with a seed." And far away, on a blue planet circling a yellow star, a child looked up at the night sky, pointed, and said, "That's where we go next." And someone smiled, because humanity was no longer leaving. It was arriving, together.